Part 5, The Unseen Path. The knocking from the box grew louder, each tap a dagger slicing through the silence. My body felt paralyzed, sweat soaking my clothes as I stared at the unassuming object. The eye, whatever it was, wasn't just a relic. It was a key, a beacon, and it wasn't meant for me. The glowing circle around the box faded completely, the symbols now lifeless. The air thickened again, humming with unseen energy. And I knew the entity or entities weren't far. I had to act fast. I grabbed the diary and scanned the next few pages, desperate for answers. The writing had grown more fragmented, Edgar's final entries descending into chaos. One sentence repeated over and over, scrawled across the pages like a desperate warning. The eye must return to the between. A sketch on the following page showed a jagged archway surrounded by twisted trees. Beneath it, a swirling void labeled simply as the gateway. Beneath the image was a hastily written note. The house is the anchor. The gateway lies below. I cursed under my breath. The house, of course. The answers were back there, buried beneath that cursed structure. The box trembled in my hands as I stuffed it into my backpack. I didn't know what I'd do once I got there. But the alternative, staying, and waiting for the shadows to find me, was unthinkable. Back to the house. The drive back was a blur of dread and adrenaline. The road twisted unnaturally in the dim light of dawn, the shadows growing longer as if they were reaching for my car. When I reached the house, it was worse than before. The once decaying structure now seemed alive, its wooden beams creaking as if breathing. The windows glowed faintly red, pulsing like blood through veins. I hesitated at the gate, the weight of the box dragging on my back. My instincts screamed at me to turn around, to abandon this madness. But the diary's words echoed in my mind. The eye must return. The front door swung open on its own, groaning on rusted hinges. The house was inviting me in. The descent. Inside, the air was colder than before, carrying the stench of rot and mildew. My flashlight flickered erratically, its beam barely piercing the darkness. The house had changed. Hallways twisted at impossible angles. Rooms stretched into infinity, and the stairs spiraled downward into an abyss. I followed the pull of the box, an almost magnetic force guiding me deeper. The floorboards groaned under my feet, and the whispers returned, louder and more insistent. You do not belong. Turn back. It is ours. I ignored them, clutching the diary and pressing forward. At the base of the stairs, I found myself in a massive chamber. The walls were lined with jagged stones, etched with more of the strange symbols I had seen in the diary. In the center of the room stood the archway from Edgar's sketch. It loomed high above me, its surface rippling like black water. The gateway. My breath caught as I approached, the box vibrating wildly now. The glass eye within began to glow again, casting eerie green light across the chamber. The whispers grew deafening, transforming into guttural roars. Shadows writhed along the walls, forming monstrous shapes that circled closer. Return it! I hesitated, my hands trembling as I lifted the box. Was this the right thing to do? What if returning the eye unleashed something worse? The shadows lunged. In a panic, I hurled the box into the gateway. The moment it crossed the threshold, the entire chamber shuddered. The swirling void within the archway turned a blinding white, and a powerful wind whipped through the room, pulling the shadows toward it. They screeched in fury, their forms unraveling like smoke in a storm. One by one, they were dragged into the gateway, their howls fading into the void. The house trembled violently, chunks of stone falling from the ceiling. I turned and ran, the staircase collapsing behind me as I ascended. The walls groaned and splintered, the structure coming apart at the seams. I burst through the front door just as the house caved in, collapsing inward as if consumed by an invisible force. The ground beneath it cracked and split, swallowing the ruins whole. Then silence. The aftermath. I stood there shaking, staring at the empty crater where the house had been. The sky above was unnaturally clear, the morning sun casting long shadows across the rubble. The diary was still clutched in my hand, but its pages were blank now. The ink faded as if it had never existed. I wanted to feel relief, but a lingering unease gnawed at me. The gateway was gone, the eye lost, but the question remained, was it enough? As I turned to leave, I felt it, a faint vibration in the ground beneath my feet. A whisper carried on the wind, barely audible but unmistakable. The eye sees all. I walked away, but the feeling of being watched never left.